good morning. Have a nice live stream.
Good morning. Oh, good morning, Perth time. In the Northern Hemisphere, it will be evening. I'm Neil Beck, and I was a doctor in Perth, Western Australia for 53 years, but I don't often use the title doctor anymore because I've retired and I'm not registered. but strangely enough, I know so much more than I knew when I was practicing, because I've had so much more time to study and research. And when I was a doctor practicing, I had 500,000 consultations, home and hospital visits, and saw so many suffering people. And the people that I thought who suffered most and got the worst help were people with serious mental health problems, especially as 95% of addictions were caused by mental health distress, people seeking relief from street drugs because they didn't get proper help and diagnosis and treatment of their mental health disorders. And as my family had been affected, as nearly all families are affected, with mental health problems, I have spent a lot of time in retirement researching and thinking and talking and writing. And I've been raving on this live streaming about two things: about how there'll never be enough mental health and addiction care because the tools that mental health care and addiction workers use are so limited and faulty. There's only two tools: medicines, and so many medicines are addictive, and tablets and capsules work too slow. And the other tool is talk therapy, psychotherapy, counselling, CBT, call it what you like. And talk therapy is too slow. It's so slow, and it's very expensive. It has to be expensive because to be a therapist you need to be very smart and to have done at least a 4-year university course in psychology. So that was one of my raves, how the tools were only two and both had great faults, and there need to be a lot better tools. And the other thing I've been raving about is all the blind areas in mental health. All the things that I could see were so important but were being ignored. But what I realized is that I shouldn't be raving about the blind areas. I should be telling people how to overcome the blind areas and how to get the tools they need. I've spent 27 years developing 8 tools that make the care of mental health and addiction so much simpler and easier and faster and better. And I've got another 2 tools coming. And one of them is going to be so wonderful that I may have to curtail my live streaming in order to have more time to put into what I call, at present, I don't know that it'll be its permanent name, but called TikTok mental health pages. That'll be pages on mental health that go very fast like TikTok goes, but will also have detail, because the speed of TikTok is due to to not having detail. You can go very fast with 1-minute videos and cover a lot of ground, but if you find the problems that you're looking for, you don't get the detail. So I hope in TikTok mental health pages we'll get both the speed and the detail, but of course I have to get TikTok's permission to use their name, and so that'll be a month or 2 away. So in addition to providing the tools. The 8 tools so far are nearly 100 one-minute videos, 2 websites. The smilefixit.com. Smilefixit.com is a short TikTok-like website, and then there's an app. We developed an app. A lot of work, a lot of money. The Mental Fix It app, but you can now go on your phone, tap the App Store or Google Play icon, and download the free Mental Fix It app in a few seconds. And then there's live streaming, which at present I do 4 sessions a week. And have now over 5,000 followers. I was doing them at 7 o'clock Perth time on Wednesday evening, Friday, Saturday and Sunday evening, but now I do the Sunday session on Sunday morning because we have so many Northern Hemisphere viewers, and 7 a.m. 7 p.m. Perth time is 7 a.m. New York time, 4 a.m. Los Angeles time, and God knows what in London, or Sweden and Norway, where we have lots of viewers, but very inconvenient. So now I hope that the 9 a.m. Sunday, 9 a.m. Perth Sunday time session is a more user-friendly time for Northern Hemisphere people. But I've also got to focus on telling people how to overcome the blind areas. The tools are very important, but how to beat the blind area is very important. So let's have a go at that. The first blind area is to be exact about what your problems are. And the usual talk therapy method is not very exact, because people who have one problem always, one mental health problem, always have 3, 4 or 5 mental health problems, but talk therapy is so slow that you usually don't get past the first 1 or 2, but you want to know what all your problems are, and there are usually several. And the Mental Fix It app can help you to discover all your problems and their severity in 5 minutes. And you want to know all your problems, not just one, and you want to be exact, not woolly. The second thing, blind area, was that people were being treated as if they were individuals, and no one is an individual. Everyone is a part of a family. Everyone is part of their mother's family stream and their father's family stream. And even if you were adopted and you don't even know who your parents were, you're still part of their family stream. And mental health problems are nearly always family problems, and so you need to know what your family is like, that to overcome the second blind area. You need to stop and think about your mother and your father, and if you're adopted, both your adopting mother and the mother who carried you for 9 months and gave birth to you, and you need to think about your siblings, your brothers and sisters, and your grandparents and your great-grandparents. And that's the third blind area. If you have got a serious mental health or addiction problem, you need to know what the disasters were in your parents, your grandparents, and even your great-grandparents' lives, because when there's a disaster like an early death or divorce or alcoholism or bankruptcy or wartime horror experiences, those things affect people in a way that nearly always affects their children and and to some extent their grandchildren, and to some extent their great-grandchildren. My generation and children and some of the grandchildren in the extended family were affected by a great-grandmother who in 1876, at the age of 16, had her first son, and then had a total of 9 children over a period of about 15 or 16 years, with 2 different husbands and a boyfriend, and that affected one of her children, her first daughter, her 4th child, so much that affected subsequent levels. So if you've got a big problem, mental health or addiction problem, you must know what disasters happened to your parents, your grandparents, and your great-grandparents. It's very important to know whether your maternal bonding was broken. The most important thing in everybody's life is the bonding between the mother and the baby. The mother carries the baby while they grow from a tiny speck fertilized egg to a 2 or 3 kilo baby in her tummy, and everything that they get to grow on has come through her. All their nutrition comes through her, but they are also bathed in her hormones, her chemistry. What other chemicals were there? Was there a lot of alcohol? Was there heroin? Was there anything else? So knowing about your family and going back for 3 generations is very important. And then that first year you spend with your mother is the most critical year of your whole life. When you were born, you were very helpless. I was very helpless. We had to be born while our head was small, so our brain was small, to be able to get out through our mother's pelvis. I can still remember a long time ago when doctors were taught how to crunch a baby's head, which killed the baby, to get it out because its head was too big for it to be born. The mother would be in labour in horrible contractions for 2 days and just couldn't get the head out because the head was too big. So most people, of course today that's fixed by caesarean section, but most of us were born when our heads were small enough to get through our mother's pelvis, which means our brains were small, which means that we were pretty primitive, pretty incapable. A horse can run on the day it's born. A baby can't even crawl until it's 6 or 7 months old. And so when we were born, we had to be fed every 3 hours, day and night, week after week. And our mother usually did that. And by the time we were 6 days old, we could smell who our mother was, and that gave us confidence, and we felt happy and secure when we could smell our mother. But if for some reason we couldn't smell our mother at that very early age, we could start to become anxious, to become worried, frightened we weren't going to be fed. As when our heart beat, we breathed, we pooed, we weed, and we could cry, but apart from that, our mother or someone had to do everything for us. And when we cried, she would do whatever we needed, usually being fed, but sometimes being kept clean and dry and warm and kept safe, of course. So that mothering was incredibly important. And when we were about a month or two, and when she was tending to us and maybe talking to us and laughing and smiling and maybe humming and singing, one day we suddenly smiled back at her. We realized, we saw her and we smiled, and that was so wonderful. She was so happy when we smiled at her, and her happiness made us happy. And that was when the unconscious bonding transitioned to the conscious bonding, and we became close friends. And in that first year, the two most important things of our whole life, the foundations were laid. The foundations of our emotions and the foundations of our relationship habits. Our emotions are feelings of happiness, but also of fear and anxiety or worry, of sadness, loneliness, distress, irritability, anger. And just how well we were mothered, which depended on how experienced she was, how capable she was, how many other things she had to do. Did she have 5 other children? Did she have to go to work to earn money? Was her marriage good or bad? All these things affected her mothering ability. Did she have an alcohol problem? Did she have some other sort of addiction problem? So all that affected our feeling habits, because if you feel something again and again and again, it becomes a habit. So did we develop an anxiety, worry habit in that first year of life? Did we develop a loneliness habit in that first year of life? Did we develop sadness and depression? Did we develop irritability and anger in that first year of life? Because she was too inexperienced, she was too incapable, she had so many other things to do. She had no support, because the mother supports the baby, but others need to support the mother, usually her mother and her husband. But sometimes she had no support, and sometimes she was sick. She was physically sick, or she was depressed. Depression was not uncommon around childbirth, and sometimes she had an addiction. So that first year of life was so important in laying the foundations of our feeling habits. And the second year was important, and the third year was less important, and the later years were less important. But repetition of unhappy feelings in that bonding period can result in lifelong emotional feelings. At 80, like me, you can have feeling habits that you developed in your first year of life, and your relationship habits. Are you usually friendly, loving person, or are you in your relationships distant, not close, or even hostile and angry? So many women are killed by their partners or ex-partners. One woman in Australia every 4 days and that anger of that partner, usually the man, but sometimes the woman, probably in many cases started in their first year of life. So it's very important to become an expert in making good habits and breaking bad habits. Habits are 60 to 65% of our life, but I never heard a mental health professional ever mention the word habit. But so it's a terrible blind area, but I've been raving on about that blind area, but I need to talk about how to overcome the blind area. How do you make a habit? You make habits by doing something over and over and over and over again. And whether it's helpful or harmful, if you do something over and over and over again, or you feel something or you think something, something happens, it will become a habit. Because everything that happens in us and everything that we do happens because of electrical messages that flow from our brain along our nerves. When I move this arm, that's because a message is passed down a nerve to the muscles in my arm. So everything depends on electrical messages and on chemical messages, on chemicals that our brain and our glands produce that flow in our blood to wherever in our body they do their work. And the more often an electrical or a chemical trigger and flow happens, the stronger it gets. If you do it over and over and over again, it gets the electrical triggers and messages and the chemical triggers and messages get stronger and stronger until they're almost automatic and unconscious. And that's a habit. A habit is something that happens without thinking about it, without effort, and it's hard to stop. It just happens. And we must learn to make new good habits. If we're very lucky and we have wonderful parenting, we will just automatically learn all the good habits we have. But there are no perfect mothers, there are no perfect fathers, there are no perfect grandmothers, there are no perfect families or homes or neighborhoods or schools. So a lot of people have to learn to make good habits. To learn to feel happy, to learn to laugh, to learn to smile. We must learn to make helpful habits, and we must learn to break unhelpful habits. If we have got the habit of being worried, or of being angry, or of being lonely, or of being unfriendly, if we've got these habits, we must learn to break them. So how do you break a habit? First of all, you think about it, you talk about it to friends and helpful consultants and so on, until you are sure your life is going to be much better if you break that habit. Once you're sure that your life is going to be a lot better, then it's much easier to break that habit. And then what you have to do is you have to weaken the triggers and the messages, the electrical and chemical triggers and messages. And how do you weaken them? You weaken them by delaying the habit and doing less of it. And how do you do that? Well, the old timers would say, just go cold turkey, just stop. Doesn't work for most people in most situations. They might stop for a day or 2 days or 3 days, and then they suffer too badly that they relapse and go back to the habit. They might even, with great effort and suffering, quit a bad habit for 3 months, 6 months, a year, but then some crisis happens and they go back to it, because a person who was an alcoholic and who gets off it only has to get drunk once after years, and they'll all come back. All those electrical and chemical messages suddenly reawaken. They're there sleeping because you delayed them and you did less and less of them, but they're there and they're easily awoken. So you must learn how to break habits. Get very sure that your life will be better and the life of the people you love will get better if you break that habit. Learn to delay it. Learn to do less of it. Make it inconvenient, difficult, unpleasant, and reward yourself when you don't do it. For instance, smoking. Smoking is a very strong habit which kills about 7 million people a year in the world, and for everyone it kills, it seriously damages hundreds of people. So how do you quit smoking? Well, you can go cold turkey, very hard, and lots of people don't succeed and keep on smoking even though they want to. But get very sure that your life will be better, your blood pressure will be better, your heart will be better, your partner who doesn't like the smell of smoke will be happier. Your children are less likely to smoke if you stop smoking. Get very sure that your life will be better if you stop. And then every time you feel like a cigarette, you delay it for 15 minutes. How do you delay it? You make it inconvenient. You don't have the cigarettes in your pocket, have the cigarettes in the backyard, in the shed or the car or somewhere, and you have to go out and you get one cigarette and you delay smoking for 15 minutes. And then you smoke, but you only smoke 3/4 of the cigarette and chuck the rest of the cigarette away, so you smoke less. Or you do other things, like you never have a smoke until you've done 20 push-ups or until you've done 10 minutes on your exercise bike or whatever. Or you can reward yourself with a lovely taste. We're now developing these pocket powder, fruit powder dispensers which you can have in your pocket, and when you think of smoking you just whiz it out and drop a lovely fruit powder on your tongue, and you focus on tasting that lovely taste of that non-damaging, helpful fruit powder. And when the taste starts to fade, you have another taste, and then another taste. It only costs you a few cents each taste, and you focus on that, which allows you to delay the smoking. So get very sure your life will be better. Delay the smoking, smoke less, and in a couple of weeks you're smoking 25% or a quarter less than you were, and another 2 weeks you're smoking half less, and another few weeks you're smoking 3/4 less, without too much distress. You don't feel it so badly. Nothing like going cold turkey. And if in 8 or 10 or 12 weeks your smoking is down so low that you can just quit. So that's habits. A great blind area, in my opinion, in mental health care, and you must learn to become expert in making habits, and you can learn that from our some of our 1 minute videos. And another blind area is that I think mental health care is too focused on diagnoses and not focused enough on what a person wants and needs to have a better life. Okay, it may be a value to know that you're suffering from major depression, or you're suffering from bipolar disorder, or suffering ADD or whatever, but what you really want to know is what you want to have a better life. So with ADD, what you want is, knowing that we've got ADD may be helpful. That explains a lot of stuff that used to mystify us, and we now know that we've got a problem, that lots of people got a problem there's treatment for. So that can be helpful. But what we really need to know is that what we want to know is how to focus and concentrate, because people with ADD can't focus and concentrate. And that's what we really need to know. And when we realize that that's what we really need, we are motivated, we focus on it, and we get that quicker than if we just think, oh, we've got ADD. Know that what you need is to be able to focus and concentrate. And also know that what you need is to be much less impulsive, because impulsiveness is a second major factor in ADD. So ADD people jump to sudden decisions which are often wrong. They impulsively do things that turn out to be harmful or hurtful. So what we need to know is more than we need to know that we've got ADD, is we need to know that we need to be calmer and slower. We need to learn to be calmer and slower. And when we know that that's what we need to have a better life, it's easier to become calmer and slower. You may need the treatment as well, the medicines and the counselling and the diet and the exercise, but you need to know that that's what you want and need, to be calmer and slower and less impulsive. And most ADD is ADHD, that's attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. A few people have ADDD, which is attention deficit daydreaming disorder, and they just sit there and daydream, but most are hyperactive, and that hyperactivity causes a lot of problem in the family, in the classroom, in the workplace. And you need to know that you need to be less active, you need to be slower, steadier. And if you know that that's what you need, not that you've just got ADHD, but you need to be calmer and slower and less hyperactive, then it's easier to get that. So know your diagnosis, but know what you want and need. That's so important. And the next blind spot, in my opinion, is that we don't treat mental health disorders as emergencies. They're emergencies. If you get onto a mental health problem as soon as it starts, it's much simpler, the causes are much more obvious, it's much easier to fix. Well, still may not be easy, but a hell of a lot easier than if you've had that problem for 20 years. Yes, so as soon as a problem starts, as soon as you crash your car because you drank too much alcohol, get onto that problem. As soon as your partner tells you they're leaving, get onto that problem. As soon as you realize that you are lonely and haven't got enough friends and people need people, get onto that problem then. But what happens usually is nothing is done. It's a stigma to have a mental health problem, and there are long waiting lists, and it's either very costly or you have to wait a long time to be seen at a free clinic. So things get left, and many people don't get treatment for their mental health problems till they crash. And when they crash, it's so much work, 10 or 20 times more work than if their problem was dealt with as soon as it started. And those people who crash almost never get enough treatment to eradicate all the different problems that have accumulated. They went from ADD and being a bit of a problem child to being a problem in the classroom to having a poor education, to leaving school early, to having poor employment or being unemployed, to having money worries, then food and clothing affordability worries, then worries about getting a roof over their head, and worries about finding a partner. So many complications. So if you've got a problem, the earlier you get onto it, the easier it'll be to fix it, and the more sure you will be able to fix it and to understand the causes and to fix the causes. And another blind area is how unhelpful blaming is. Unfortunately, often mental health care turns out to be trying to find who to blame. Oh, you had a bad mother, you had a drunk father, you had a this or that, or that nasty neighbour sexually abused you when you were a child, looking for someone to blame. But blaming is not the most effective thing to do. In fact, it often makes things worse. If you've got a problem, or if there is a problem, what you really need to know is exactly what the problem is, exactly how it started, and exactly why it started. And that you may never find the full detail, but you need to know as much as you can, and that helps you to fix things. So you need to talk to the people. If you had an unhappy relationship with your mother, you need to talk to your mother. But if you just blame your mother and you refuse to talk to her, or the therapist says, oh yeah, you had a terrible mother, and so you avoid your mother, and you don't understand what exactly happened and what caused it. You don't understand that when you were 18 months old, your mother had gallbladder trouble, and she had to go to hospital and have her gallbladder removed. And in the old days, that was a big operation, not a keyhole operation, now a big operation. And she had complications. She got infections and blah blah blah. And you hardly saw her for 3 weeks. A couple of times a week, your grandmother or your father took you to the hospital to see your mother, but basically for 3 weeks, the person you'd been so close to, day and night, 7 days a week, every week of the year, you were separated from her. And that's what happened, and that's what caused. That was one of the main causes. But then, why did she have gallstones? Why did she have complications from the surgery? Why wasn't she just in hospital for a week? Well, don't get into the blame game. The blame game just makes things worse. And almost everything that happened was multifactorial and contributed to by multiple people doing things wrong or not doing things they should do because they had been wronged and had things done or not done. So don't play the blame game. Just try to find out exactly what's wrong, exactly what happened, exactly why it happened, and that will help you to overcome it. And the other blind area, and this is the last one, I hope I'm not boring you, but the last blind area is you have to learn to help yourself. There is never going to be enough mental health carers to help all the people who need mental health care, and to help the people with bad mental suffering from becoming alcoholics or heroin users or cocaine users or ice users. We must learn to help ourselves, and for that we need information and we need tools. And as I've mentioned, I've spent 27 years developing 8 tools. The 8th one is not yet widely available. We're getting 5,000 made in Ningbo, but that's just a sample one that we're using. The previous tools were videos. Videos help you to learn yourself. If you download the video onto your phone, you can look at that video as many times as you want, whenever you want, wherever you want. It doesn't cost you anything. So you're trying to understand ADD, you're trying to understand bipolar, you're trying to understand major depression, you're trying to understand PTSD. You can help yourself with the tool. Go to our smilefixit.com, and in one page you can find all the links you need to tap on to learn anything yourself, which is so much better than when I used to have to explain everything to everyone, and it took 15 or 30 minutes to do that, and when they walked out the door they were a bit confused, so you had to explain it again. Yeah. So self-help with tools, videos, websites, the Mental Fix It app, this live streaming, then powder medicines. Why powder medicines? Because so many medicines are addictive and tablets and capsules are so slow. But if you drop powder medicine on your tongue and suck it, don't swallow it, it gets into your blood vessels, into your circulation in 5 minutes. Your tongue is pink or red because the blood vessels are so close to the surface, and if you sprinkle thousands of granules of powder medicine on your tongue, they get into those blood vessels very quickly, and in 5 minutes it's in your blood and racing around to wherever you need it in your body, usually in your brain. And very soon you develop taste conditioning, and then you start to get benefit, start to get effect as soon as you taste the medicine, start to work in seconds. And instead of taking 1 or 2 hours to be working strongly, half an hour to an hour to start, and 1 to 2 hours to work strongly, which tablets and capsules take, powder starts to work in 5 minutes and then in seconds, and works strongly in 10 to 15 minutes and then in 5 to 10 minutes. And that's so much better for stopping attacks of mental health distress like anxiety or panic or irritability or anger, or stopping craving for alcohol or for heroin or for whatever. So powder medicine was tool number 5. Pocket powder medicine dispensers was tool number 6, and because it was a bit cumbersome having the powder in a bottle with a little scoop, you couldn't do that in a lot of situations, and it was slow and you might spill the powder or get the wrong amount on the scoop. But with a powder in your pocket in a dispenser, you can just whiz it out and drop the powder in your tongue anytime, anywhere, even driving the car you can do that. So always carry the powder medicine you need in a dispenser in your convenient pocket. So that was tool number 6. Tool number 7 is a heartbeat meditation aid. Meditation is so important for people with mental health problems and addiction problems, so helpful for everyone. But the people who benefit from it most often can't learn to meditate. It's too difficult, because you focus on your breathing or on a word, and while you're focusing on that you unfocus and have a rest from all your worries and stresses and strains, and that makes you happier and stronger, and it changes the epigenetic function of your brain, and then you become healthier. So meditation is so valuable, but it's hard to learn. It's a habit. You have to build that habit by doing it over and over and over again, and it's very hard to do if what you focus on is your breathing or a word, but your heartbeats are very loud. I've been listening to people's heart with stethoscope for 50 years, and I knew that heartbeats sounds are loud and they're very interesting. People find they're interesting, so just cut a stethoscope short, and that's the hearing part. You just put it down there on the upper left chest and you listen to your loud heartbeat, and that's much easier to focus on and learn to meditate. And once you've learned to meditate, you can switch to meditating by focusing on your breathing, and that's the best, because your breathing is very related to your emotions. And I now do what I call micro meditation. That is, anywhere I just breathe steadily, slowly, for a minute or two, especially when I'm trying to go to sleep at night. And the regular breathing is part of meditation, yeah, that's so valuable. And the 8th tool is this, and the 9th tool will be what we call, no, I can't talk about that because I'm not far enough advanced, but the 9th tool will be something in your pocket which will be very valuable, and the 10th tool will be what I hope to call TikTok mental health pages, which is a combination of a book and a scrolling thing, because people now love scrolling because they're looking for answers, they're looking for solutions, and big books and long lectures and podcasts are slow, and they want to race, and they can race on TikTok or on YouTube Shorts or on Instagram or Facebook. But when you race, you don't get the detail. You need the detail. So my 10th tool will give you racing and relevant detail. You don't want a book like that's got detail about all sorts of things you don't want to know about. You only want to know about 50 pages of that 1,000-page book. Well, TikTok mental health pages, I hope, will give you both. Race through the 70 or so items of mental health and addiction, and find the items that you want, and then press a button and get the detail that you need. Well, so I'm a very old man. I'm not good at technology. I don't know how to people continually want to join live as a guest, or want me to join them as a guest on their program. I don't know how to do that, but I love to know what my viewers want. I've now got 5,000 followers, nearly 20,000 likes, and you can find all those nearly 90 videos and hundreds of clips on your phone, and I want to know what your comments and questions and criticisms are. Whatever platform you see this live streaming on, please send us messages. Sometimes I get 50 comments, sometimes I get 190 comments, and I go through them all, and as many as I can I reply and help, and I do the same with the followers, new followers, nearly just over 5,000 followers, and the likes, and emails. You can email me. The email for this which is spelt the same as its sound, is healthestuff@gmail.com. healthestuff@gmail.com. And if you can't remember that, just go to smilefixit.com. smilefixit.com, the website, and you'll find the email address there, and let me know your comments, your questions, your criticisms, how we could be doing things better. Well, that's enough for today. I've got to get on with tool number 10. So thank you for watching, and I'll be back again 7 o'clock Wednesday, Friday and Saturday Perth time, and again next Sunday 9 a.m. I was a bit late this morning preparing, so yeah, thank you.